The galaxy was old. It had seen empires rise and fall like waves on a shore. It had watched stars die and new ones take their place. But in all its long history, there was one rule that every species knew, one law that no one dared to break. Do not harm the human children. Ambassador stood at the center of the Galactic Council chamber. She was an old woman now, her hair white as snow, her face lined with age. But her eyes were sharp. They held a fire that made even the largest aliens look away. Around her sat the representatives of 1,000 worlds. Some were tall and thin, with skin like polished metal. Others were short and wide, covered in thick fur. There were beings made of crystal, beings that floated in tanks of water, and beings that existed as clouds of light. All of them were silent. All of them were watching. 300 years ago, said, her voice calm and steady, your ancestors made a mistake. No one spoke, no one moved. The Empire thought they were clever. They thought that if they took our children, we would surrender. They thought we were weak. Paused. She looked around the room slowly. They were wrong. In the back of the chamber, a young name shifted in his seat. He was new to the council. He had heard stories about the humans, but he thought they were just that, stories. Myths. Tales told to scare young ones into behaving. Looked at the human ambassador. She was small, fragile. Her bones looked like they could break with a single touch. How could such a weak species be so feared? The took 47 human children from a colony on the edge of our territory, continued. They sent us a message. They wanted us to give them our weapons technology. They wanted us to surrender our home system. They gave us 1 week to decide. Walked to the center of the room. Her footsteps echoed in the silence. We did not wait 1 week. We did not wait 1 day. Within 6 hours, every warship in the galaxy was destroyed. Within 12 hours, we had found their hidden bases. Within 24 hours, we had rescued our children. She stopped walking. Within 48 hours, the Empire no longer existed. A cold chill ran through the chamber. Even the oldest, the ones who had lived for thousands of years, felt something they rarely felt: fear. We did not stop at their military, said. We did not stop at their government. We found every world they had touched, every station they had built, every ship they had made, and we burned them all. Felt his throat go dry. He wanted to look away, but he could not. Some of you think this was cruel, said. Some of you think we went too far, but you do not understand. Humans are not like other species. When you threaten our children, something changes inside us. We stop thinking about peace. We stop thinking about rules. We stop thinking about mercy. She turned to face the full council. There is a reason your ancestors made this law. There is a reason it has survived for 300 years, because every species that has broken it is now gone, not defeated, not conquered, gone, erased from history. Their planets are empty rocks. Their names are forgotten. His eyes found in the crowd. For a moment, it felt like she was speaking directly to him. I am old now. I will not live much longer, but I wanted to come here today to remind you of something. The law exists for your protection, not ours. We do not need protection. Our children are safe because we make them safe. She began to walk toward the exit. When I am gone, a new ambassador will take my place. He is young. He believes in peace and cooperation. He thinks the galaxy can move past the old hatreds. Stopped at the door. But remember this. Even the kindest human has a line that cannot be crossed. Even the most peaceful among us will become something terrible if that line is broken. The door opened. Before she stepped through, spoke one last time. The law is simple. Do not assault the human children. Follow it and we can be friends. Break it and there will be no place in this galaxy where you can hide. Then she was gone. The chamber remained silent for a long time. Slowly, they began to whisper among themselves. Most of them nodded in understanding. Most of them had heard these warnings before. Most of them knew better than to test the humans. But sat alone in his corner thinking. He was young and ambitious. He believed his species, deserved more power. He believed the humans were given too much respect for such a small, weak species. He believed the old stories were exaggerated. 30 years passed, died peacefully on Earth surrounded by her. A new ambassador took her place, a young man named. He was kind and soft-spoken. He believed in building bridges, not burning them. The galaxy seemed to forget the old warnings. Trade flourished. New alliances formed. The grew in power under his leadership. He was now a senior, one of the most influential voices in the galaxy. And in his heart, a dark plan began to grow. He looked at the humans and saw only their weakness. He looked at their colonies and saw easy targets. He looked at their children and saw bargaining chips. Had forgotten the old law, or perhaps he had never truly believed it. But the universe has a way of teaching harsh lessons to those who refuse to learn, and the humans had not forgotten who they were. They had not forgotten what they were capable of. The storm was coming, and when it arrived, the galaxy would remember why the first rule existed. Do not assault the human children. Not because they are helpless, but because of what their parents will do if you try. Colony 17 was a small world on the edge of human space. It was not important. It had no great cities, no military bases, no valuable resources. It was just a quiet farming colony where families came to live simple lives. Grandmother lived in a small house on the hill overlooking the main town. She was 73 years old and had moved to Colony 17 after her husband died. She wanted peace. She wanted to grow vegetables in her garden and watch the twin suns set every evening. Today was special. Her two were coming to visit. Was 12 years old. He was tall for his age, with curious eyes and a quick smile. He wanted to be a pilot when he grew up. He spent hours watching ships fly overhead, dreaming of the stars. His sister was 8. She was small and shy, with a love for animals. She had brought her pet rabbit with her, a fluffy white creature named Cloud. "Grandmother!" shouted as she ran up the path. Cloud bounced in her arms. Grandmother opened her arms wide. She hugged both children tight, breathing in the smell of their hair. It had been 2 years since she had seen them. They had grown so much. "Come inside," she said. "I made your favorite soup." That evening they sat on the porch and watched the suns go down. The sky turned orange, then purple, then deep blue. Stars began to appear, one by one. Grandmother asked, "Is it true that aliens are scared of us?" Grandmother smiled. "Where did you hear that?" "My teacher told us. She said there was a war a long time ago, and we won. She said the aliens made a promise to never hurt human children." The old woman looked at the stars. Her smile faded a little. "It is true," she said softly. "But that was long ago. Things are peaceful now. You do not need to worry about such things." Was already asleep, Cloud curled up on her chest, yawned and leaned against his grandmother. "I am glad things are peaceful," he said. "War sounds scary." "It is," grandmother agreed. She stroked his hair gently. "That is why we work so hard to avoid it." 200 light-years away stood on the bridge of his flagship. He was no longer the young, nervous who had sat in the back of the chamber. Now he was powerful. His fleet numbered in the thousands. His influence stretched across dozens of systems. And he was tired of waiting. "Are the ships ready?" he asked. His admiral, a tall with battle scars across his face, nodded. 300 vessels, more than enough for a farming colony. Good turned to look at the star map. Colony 17 blinked on the screen, small and helpless. The humans have grown soft. They spend their time trading and talking. They have forgotten how to fight. "And if the stories are true," the admiral asked carefully, "about what they did to the..." Laughed. "Stories told by old women to scare children, that we're weak. We are not." He pointed at the map. "We will take this colony. We will take their children as hostages. And when the humans come to negotiate, we will demand their weapons technology, their jump drive secrets, and half of their territory." The admiral hesitated, and if they do not negotiate, they will, was certain. They care too much about their young ones. They will give us anything to get them back. The fleet jumped into hyperspace. On Colony 17, morning came soft and golden. Grandmother made breakfast while the children played in the garden, was teaching how to throw a ball. Cloud hopped around their feet. No one noticed the dark shapes appearing in the sky. The first explosion hit the town center. The ground shook. Windows shattered. Screams filled the air. Grandmother dropped her cooking spoon and ran outside. Her heart stopped when she saw the sky. Dozens of alien ships hung above the colony like dark clouds. Fire rained down from their weapons. She screamed. The children ran to her, their faces white with fear. Cloud was trembling in his arms. Inside, Grandmother grabbed them and pulled them into the house. Get under the table, do not move. But there was nowhere to hide. The soldiers came down from the sky on landing craft. They were huge, their bodies covered in thick armor. They carried weapons that glowed with deadly light. They moved through the colony without mercy. They shot anyone who ran. They burned homes to the ground. They gathered the survivors in the town square. Grandmother held her close. Around her, other families huddled together. Children were crying. Parents were trying to stay brave. An officer stepped forward. His voice was cold and sharp. You are now prisoners of the Empire. Your government has 24 hours to agree to our demands. If they refuse, you will all die. Was crying silently into her grandmother's shoulder. Stood with his fists clenched, his eyes burning with anger and fear. It will be okay, Grandmother whispered. Earth will come, they will save us. But as the hours passed, no rescue came. They grew impatient. They began to separate the children from their parents. No, Grandmother fought against the soldiers. You cannot take them. A soldier hit her with the back of his weapon. She fell to the ground, blood running from her head. Grandmother tried to run to her, but strong hands grabbed him. Take the children to the holding area, the officer ordered. If Earth does not respond soon, we will send them a message they will not forget. The message came 6 hours later. A video broadcast to every human world. It showed the children of Colony 17 in cages. It showed soldiers standing over them with weapons raised. And at the center of the video, it showed smiling. People of Earth, he said, you have been too proud for too long. You think you are special. You think you are protected, but you are wrong. He gestured to the children behind him. These are your young ones, weak, helpless, just like you. He leaned toward the camera. You have 12 hours to surrender. If you do not, we will show you what we do to those who defy the video ended. On Earth, in a quiet room in a tall building, a group of people watched the screen in silence. Among them was Ambassador. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. They broke the rule, someone whispered. They actually broke it. Closed his eyes. He thought of all his work for peace, all his efforts to build bridges, all his hopes for a better future. And then he thought of the children in those cages, of all the others. When he opened his eyes, something had changed. The kindness was still there, but underneath it, something older had awakened, something darker, something that every human carried in their blood. Contact Admiral, he said quietly. Tell him we need to talk. The storm was about to begin. The galaxy waited. In the hours after its broadcast, every species watched their screens. They watched the news feeds. They monitored the communication channels. They waited to see what Earth would do. Nothing happened. At first, the other species were confused. Surely the humans would respond. Surely they would threaten or negotiate or do something. But there was only silence. Onda sat in his command center and smiled. You see, he told his officers, they are afraid. They know they cannot fight us. They will surrender soon. His admiral was not so sure. I have been monitoring human space. Something strange is happening. What do you mean? Their trade ships have stopped moving. Their civilian vessels are returning to port. Their communication channels have gone quiet. The admiral's voice was worried. It is like they are clearing the way for something. Waved his hand. They are scared, they are hiding, this is good. But across the galaxy, other species knew better. In the halls of the Galactic Council, the ambassadors whispered to each other. The older ones, the ones who remembered the war, had a look in their eyes. It was the look of people who had seen something terrible and knew it was about to happen again. The humans are not hiding, one old ambassador said. They are preparing. Preparing for what? A younger asked. The old ambassador looked at him with sad eyes. For war. The kind of war that does not end until one side no longer exists. On Earth, in a military base hidden deep underground, Admiral stood before a wall of screens. He was a tall man in his 50s, with gray at his temples and a face that showed no emotion. He had served in the military for 30 years. He had fought in border conflicts and peacekeeping missions. He had hoped he would never have to do what he was about to do. But hope was a luxury he could not afford now. Around him stood the commanders of the United Earth Fleet. They were silent, waiting for orders. On the screens behind them, the status of every human warship was displayed. Thousands of vessels, hidden in ports and stations across human space, all waiting for one word. Ambassador stood beside the admiral. He looked like he had aged 10 years in the past day. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. "Is there no other way?" he asked quietly. Did not look at him. "You know there is not. The Galactic Council could intervene. We could negotiate. We could." "They took our children." His voice was flat, hard. 57 children, including 12 who were injured in the attack. They put them in cages like animals. They threatened to kill them. He finally turned to face. "There is no negotiation for this. There never was." Was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. "What do we tell the galaxy?" "Nothing. Nothing." Turn back to the screens. "We tell them nothing. We do not make threats. We do not make demands. We do not explain ourselves. We simply act." "Why?" "Because threats can be ignored. Demands can be refused. Explanations can be debated." Hands clenched into fists. "But actions cannot be undone. When we are finished, no one in this galaxy will ever forget what happens when you touch our children." Across human space, the ships began to move. They did not jump into hyperspace all at once. That would have created energy signatures that they could detect. Instead, they moved slowly, carefully, gathering at secret points in deep space. The fleet was massive. 2,000 warships, including 50 of the massive dreadnoughts that humans called world breakers. They were vessels built for one purpose: total destruction. Most species did not even know they existed. Captain commanded the ground forces. She was 42 years old, with short black hair and eyes that seemed to look through people rather than at them. She had grown up on a military base. She had joined the army at 18. She had never known any other life. Now she stood on the deck of a troop carrier, watching her soldiers prepare for battle. They were quiet, focused, angry. "Captain," one of her lieutenants asked, "what are our orders?" Did not hesitate. "Free the hostages, eliminate all resistance, leave nothing standing." "Nothing. Nothing." Her voice was ice. "When we leave that planet, I want them to know that they should never have been born." Back on Colony 17, the hostages waited. Grandmother had been allowed to stay with the children after other prisoners begged them to show some mercy. Her head wound had been bandaged by a human doctor who was also being held captive. She sat with and holding them close. "I am scared," Grandmother whispered. Cloud was gone. They had killed the rabbit when refused to stop crying. "I know, little one." Grandmother stroked her hair. "But you must be brave. Help is coming." Looked at her. "How do you know?" The old woman smiled. It was a strange smile, one that did not quite reach her eyes. Because I know our people. I know what we become when someone hurts our children. What do we become? Grandmother was quiet for a moment. She thought of the stories she had heard as a child, the stories of the war, the stories of what humans did when they had nothing left to lose. We become something that the galaxy fears, she said finally. We become something that does not stop, does not rest, does not forgive. Looked at the guards standing nearby. They were huge, powerful. They carried weapons that could kill with a single shot. They are so big, he said. They have so many ships. Grandmother pulled him closer. Size means nothing. Weapons mean nothing. What matters is the heart. And human hearts burn hotter than any star when someone threatens what we love. 10 hours remained until deadline. In the command center of his flagship, watched the clock with growing excitement. They will surrender, he said. They have no choice. But his admiral was staring at the sensor screen. His face had gone pale. You should see this. Walked over to look. At first, he did not understand what he was seeing. The screen showed deep space, the dark void between stars. There was nothing there. Then the sensors adjusted and saw them. Ships, thousands of them. They were not moving, they were not communicating, they were just there, waiting, watching. Where did they come from? His voice was suddenly uncertain. I do not know, the admiral replied. But those are not patrol vessels. Those are warships, and some of them are bigger than anything in our fleet. For the first time since his plan began, felt something cold in his stomach. Fear. It does not matter, he said, but his voice was less confident now. They would not risk the hostages, they would not. The communication console lit up. A message was coming through. His hands trembled as he opened it. There was no video, no voice, just text, 4 words. We are coming, prepare. The galaxy had stopped waiting. The humans had made their choice. And now they would learn why the first rule of the galaxy existed. The attack began at midnight, Colony 17 time. Captain watched from the command deck of her dropship as the human fleet emerged from hyperspace above the colony. The defense force tried to respond, but they were too slow, too unprepared. They had expected negotiations. They had expected fear. They got fire instead. The world breakers opened up with their main weapons. These were not normal ship cannons. They were weapons designed to crack planets, to shatter moons, to end civilizations. The ships lasted less than 3 minutes. All ground teams prepare for deployment, ordered. Her voice was calm, cold. The dropships fell from the sky like rain. Thousands of human soldiers poured onto the surface of Colony 17. The ground forces met them with weapons blazing. It did not matter. The humans moved with a fury that they had never seen. They did not hide behind cover. They did not wait for orders. They pushed forward, always forward, their weapons never stopping. Soldiers who fell were stepped over by others. There was no hesitation, no mercy. Led the assault on the main holding area where the children were being kept. Her team cut through the guards like they were made of paper. When a soldier tried to surrender, she looked at him with empty eyes and kept firing. Captain, one of her soldiers called out, "We found them." Rushed into the holding area. The children were there, huddled together in cages, dirty, scared, but alive. She saw, and in the corner, holding onto each other. Grandmother sat beside them, her arms wrapped around them both. When the old woman saw the human soldiers, she started to cry. "Get them out," ordered. "Medical teams standing by. I want every child checked and transported to safety within the hour." As her soldiers opened the cages and began carrying the children to safety, walked outside. The colony was burning. Bodies lay everywhere. The battle was over before it had really begun. "Captain," her lieutenant approached. "The colony is secure. All hostages have been recovered. 12 injured but no deaths." Nodded, but she did not relax. This was only the beginning. "Signal Admiral," she said. "Tell him Phase 1 is complete. We are ready for Phase 2. The fleet did not stop at Colony 17. Within hours, they had jumped to the border. Within a day, they had broken through every defense they had built. Within 2 days, they had reached the watch from his palace as the human ships appeared in his sky. There were so many of them. They blocked out the stars. "We must negotiate," his advisors begged. "We must surrender." But knew it was too late for that. He had seen the human message. He had heard the silence in their communications. These were not people who came to talk. These were people who came to end things. The bombardment began at dawn. The world breakers fired on the military installations first, then the government buildings, then the factories, then the ports. They did not attack civilian areas directly, but they did not stop to help evacuate them either. When a city burned because its military base was destroyed, the humans simply moved on to the next target. Fled underground to a hidden bunker. Around him, his empire was falling. Reports came in from every front, every fleet destroyed, every base captured, every planet surrendered. In 48 hours, the military ceased to exist. Captain led the ground assault on the capital city. Her soldiers moved through the streets without fear. The civilians ran from them screaming. They had heard the stories. They knew what was coming. But did not kill civilians. She did not burn homes. She was not here for revenge against the innocent. She was here for one person. "Find," she ordered. "Search every building, check every bunker. He does not leave this planet alive." They found him 3 hours later. He was hiding in a bunker beneath his palace, surrounded by his most loyal guards. When the humans broke through the final door, the guards threw down their weapons and begged for mercy. Did not beg. He stood with his chin raised, trying to look proud, but his hands were shaking. Captain walked toward him slowly. Her armor was covered in dust and blood. Her face showed nothing. "You took our children," she said quietly. "You put them in cages. You threatened to kill them." Tried to speak, but no words came out. "Did you think we would negotiate?" asked. "Did you think we would surrender?" I did not believe the stories," finally managed to say. "I thought they were lies. I thought you were weak." Stopped in front of him. She was not tall. She barely reached his chest. But in that moment she seemed to tower over him. "We are not weak," she said. "We are patient. We are kind. We prefer peace to war, but we have one rule that cannot be broken." She leaned closer. "You broke it." His eyes were wide with fear. What will you do to me?" Did not answer. She simply turned and walked away. "Take him to Admiral," she ordered. "He will decide." On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral looked at the broken, had been stripped of his armor and his medals. He stood in chains, surrounded by human soldiers. 300 years ago they made the same mistake you did," said. "We gave them a chance to return our children peacefully. They refused, so we destroyed them, every ship, every base, every colony." Was trembling. "Please, I will give you anything. Take our technology, take our planets, just spare my people." "Spare your people?" His voice was ice. "Your soldiers attacked a peaceful farming colony. They killed innocent civilians. They took children from their families and put them in cages." He stepped closer to. "Your people followed your orders. They chose to obey you. They were afraid of me. Then they should have been more afraid of us." Turned to face the main screen. It showed the burning in 100 places. "We will not destroy your species," he said finally. "That would make us no better than you, but your military is gone, your government is gone, your influence in the galaxy is gone." He looked back at. "You will live. You will watch as your empire crumbles to dust. And you will remember for the rest of your long life what happens when you break the first rule." Fell to his knees, tears ran down his face. I am sorry. Did not respond. He simply walked away, leaving the broken alone with his guards. In orbit above the human fleet remained. They would stay for weeks, ensuring the transition of power, ensuring that they could never threaten anyone again. And across the galaxy, every species watched and remembered. The humans were kind, they were peaceful, they preferred to talk rather than fight. But when you touched their children, they became something else entirely. They became a force that could not be stopped, a fury that could not be contained, a lesson that would never be forgotten. 1 year had passed since the war. The galaxy was different now, quieter, more careful. Every species had watched what happened to and every species had learned the same lesson. Do not touch the human children. The Galactic Council chamber had been rebuilt. The old building had been too small to hold all the new members who wanted to attend meetings. Now it was 3 times larger, with seats for thousands of representatives from across the known universe. But the most important change was at the center of the chamber. A statue stood there made of white stone that seemed to glow with its own inner light. It showed 2 human children, a boy and a girl, holding hands. The boy stood tall and brave, looking up at the stars. The girl held a small rabbit close to her chest, her eyes wide with wonder. And the faces of Colony 17. Beneath the statue, carved into the base in every language known to the galaxy, were words that no one would ever forget. We do not forgive, we do not forget, touch our children and your stars go dark. Ambassador stood before the full council. He was older now, his hair showing more gray than black, but his eyes were still kind. His voice was still gentle. 1 year ago they broke the first rule of the galaxy, he said. They attacked a peaceful colony. They took innocent children. They threatened to kill them. The chamber was silent. Every eye was on him. Many of you expected us to negotiate. Many of you thought we would try to find a peaceful solution, and in normal circumstances we would have paused. But there are some things that cannot be negotiated, some lines that cannot be crossed, some rules that exist not because we want them to, but because we need them to. He gestured to the statue behind him. And are home now. They live with their grandmother on a new colony, far from the place where they were taken. They are safe. They are happy. They are trying to forget what happened to them. His voice grew quieter. But they will never fully forget. They will always carry the memory of those days in the cages. They will always remember the fear, the cold, the darkness. He looked around the chamber. And we will always remember too. On the new colony, grandmother sat on her porch, watching the sunset. The sky here was different from Colony 17. It turned pink instead of orange, purple instead of blue, but it was still beautiful. Was inside doing his homework. He was 13 now, taller than ever, with the same curious eyes he had always had. He still wanted to be a pilot, but now he also wanted to be a soldier. He wanted to protect people the way Captain had protected him. Was in the garden playing with her new rabbit. This one was gray instead of white, with floppy ears and a pink nose. She had named him Shadow. He was not Cloud, but he helped fill the empty space in her heart. Grandmother watched her with tired eyes. She was 74 now. The year had been hard on her. She did not sleep well anymore. She saw things in her dreams that she wished she could forget. But she was grateful, so deeply, endlessly grateful. The door opened, and a visitor stepped onto the porch. Grandmother looked up and saw a woman with short black hair and eyes like winter ice. "Captain," she said softly, "you came." Sat down beside her. She was not in uniform today. She wore simple clothes and her hair had grown a little longer. She looked almost peaceful. "I came to check on them," said. "How are they?" "Better," grandmother smiled. "They still have bad days, but they are getting better." Nodded, she watched play with Shadow in the garden. The little girl was laughing, chasing the rabbit through the flowers. "I think about them," said quietly. "Every night. I think about what could have happened if we had been too slow, if we had failed." "But you did not fail." "No, we did not," looked at the old woman. But the galaxy should never have put us in that position. They should have known better. Grandmother was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. When I was young, my grandmother told me a story. She said that long ago, before humans left Earth, there were animals called wolves. They were fierce and dangerous, but they loved their young ones more than anything in the world. Listened. One day, a group of hunters found a wolf den. They took the wolf pups thinking they could sell them. The mother wolf was out hunting. When she came back and found her pups gone, she did not rest. She did not hide. She tracked those hunters across mountains and rivers. She followed them for days, and when she finally caught up with them, grandmother paused. They never made that mistake again. Understood, we are the wolves. Yes, the old woman nodded. We are kind, we are gentle, we prefer peace. But when someone takes our young ones, we become something else, something ancient, something that the galaxy forgot about until it was too late. In the Galactic Council chamber was finishing his speech. We do not want war, he said. We do not want conflict. We want to live in peace with all species, to trade and learn and grow together. That has always been our goal. That will always be our goal. He stepped closer to the statue of End. But there is one thing we will never compromise on, one rule we will always enforce, one line that can never be crossed. His voice grew stronger. Our children are sacred. They are our future. They are everything we fight for and everything we live for. Turn to face the council one last time. They forgot this. They thought we were too kind, too gentle, too civilized to fight back. They were wrong. He looked at every representative in the chamber. Do not make the same mistake. The chamber erupted in applause, not because the representatives agreed with what the humans had done, not because they approved of the destruction of the military, but because they understood. They finally, truly understood. Was still alive. He lived alone on a small moon at the edge of what had once been space. He had no power, no wealth, no influence. He spent his days staring at the walls of his tiny room, remembering what he had lost. Sometimes in the quiet of the night, he would think about his mistake. He would remember the moment he had decided to attack Colony 17. He would remember thinking that the humans were weak, that they would surrender. And he would laugh bitterly at his own foolishness. He had broken the first rule of the galaxy. And the galaxy had made sure he would never forget it. On her new colony, finished playing with Shadow and ran inside for dinner, had finished his homework and was setting the table. Grandmother walked in slowly, her bones aching from the evening cold. They sat together eating soup and bread, talking about small things, school, friends, the weather. They did not talk about what had happened. They did not talk about the cages or the war. But they did not need to. The memory was carved into the heart of the galaxy now. It was written in stone at the center of the council chamber. It was whispered in the stories that species told their children. Do not assault the human children. Not because humans are dangerous, but because of what they become when you do. The wolves were sleeping now. They had returned to their peaceful lives, their kind hearts, their gentle ways. But they were always watching, always ready. And the galaxy would never forget.